Okay. All right. Let's start. First of all, raise your hands. Who? Okay. First of all, raise your hands. Who has already seen or heard me talking about this stuff over the last couple of weeks? One, two. Really? Okay. Cool. Three. All right. Well, then it's gonna be not that much new for you, I guess, guys. Well, I mean, probably, like, okay, there will be something new there. I mean, because kind of the theme of the event a little bit pushes me to to light up more asses on fire. Anyway, um, all right, let's talk about that. Pipes. So, what's the deal? What are we talking about in here? Well, first of all, yeah, I think we all have seen and we've heard in here a lot that we ossified, Bitcoin's ossified. That's it. We're done. Relax. There will be some maintenance, there will be some consensus cleanup, there will be like whatever, but it's ossified, like whatever. So, and honestly, it's good. I mean, I think it's good. Like, don't don't screw around with it. Don't try to risk. I mean, I'm sorry, but sovereign wealth of Norway or any of these things, which are now all in with Bitcoin, and don't risk those things. Just yeah, leave it as it is. But the thing is, as things as time goes by, I mean, we spoke with some of you guys yesterday about this as well. People want to still do something with their Bitcoin without trust assumptions for the third party, which you still, kind of have to deal with today. And this is where, the, the whole push and the whole idea for trying to introduce, well, something new, like some new opcodes, great script restoration stuff, even push through simplicity. This is where it all comes from. People don't want trust assumptions. People want to do something else besides what they can do, like culturalize Bitcoin or like do private transfers or something else. So yeah, and like the thing is, how do we do all that without screwing up accidentally the protocol itself, or without making it ugly, or without just ruining the whole thing again accidentally because somebody wanted to do something nice to have and not need to have. I mean, let's try to do it off chain, and it's kind of like an obvious idea. There was like the talk about, hey, we could probably prove something to Bitcoin L1. These talks have been around like for, I don't know, I guess for the last 10 years at least, maybe more. And recently we got several, kind of attempts, several methods to, well, basically compute something outside of Bitcoin, prove it to Bitcoin, and use that result in Bitcoin itself. So, like all the whole kind of BitVM stuff and all of that, it played its role. I mean, it's great. It works. It works the way it's intended to work. Though, it's good for certain cases, and maybe it still has its downsides and still has all of this wait time and, well, all of that. So what do we do then? Well, we do witness encryption. Yes. It's kind of, if I was talking about this maybe like 5 years ago or like 6 years ago, you would have just threw me out of the window, and like that would have been it. But just now I think we can talk about this pretty safely, without risking getting thrown out of the window. So what's the deal there? The deal there is, let's try to enforce as much as possible outside of Bitcoin. Let's try to prove it cryptographical. Let's try to enforce it without third parties, without consensus, without any of that stuff. The classic way of doing this, kind of, which we kind of know already, has always been, this DLC stuff, pre-signs, all of that. So what if we can take this kind of key management trick to, a little bit of a new level and make the condition upon which you decrypt the key, kind of programmable, right? A little bit more programmable. Again, this is what you need witness encryption for. That's exactly what's happening there. Kind of allows you to unlock some ciphertext based upon the satisfaction of some NP condition, some NP relation. You probably yeah, I mean that's basically what I've just that's basically what I just explained. Um, you know, you don't need to be a genius to kind of imagine what for this is helpful, or what for this could be used. And we'll talk a little bit about that further down the line, I would say. But yeah, kind of this is what it is. And it's been this whole kind of thing. We called it kind of this conditional decryption trick, conditional key decryption, conditional signature decryption trick. We called it Bitcoin pipes. We published the initial version of it about maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah, maybe a year and a half ago at this point. Initially, it was like more like a hip shot, like hey, we could probably do that if we had functional encryption or witness encryption. Would be great, huh? So that was that. Then there was, yeah, and it was actually quite interesting that, as far as I understand, it has paved the way to kind of this conditional decryption approaches, which kind of BitVM incorporated heavily, and that's actually a good way forward. So I'm happy this happened. And like the V2, like the V2, what's the difference? This is like a more concrete proposal in terms of like, hey, this is how it works in particular. Like not a hip shot anymore, but like pretty well targeted shot, I would say. We switched from this kind of idea that hey, we can decrypt the signature to hey, we can decrypt the key, but because for most cases it turns out to be that it's enough, and it also makes the whole thing a little bit more lightweight. Actually, a lot more lightweight. Okay, so we got it published like recently. It uses pretty maybe well-known a modification of a pretty well-known witness encryption scheme based on Bartusiak and Shai's paper published back in 2020. It's just we kind of tricked it and like tweaked it a little bit for the sake of performance, because otherwise, like all the witness encryption stuff, if you do a proper witness encryption stuff, you basically you're forced to have a Dyson sphere to run it, which is, kind of the reason why we never had it. We have it now. We're working on the cryptanalysis of it quite a lot. Sanjam collaborates with us a lot on this. I mean, all over the place. We've pulled a lot of good people from EPFL and ETH Zurich focusing on this topic. So what's the downside? Like, it all sounds fun and cool and interesting, right? But what's the downside of all of this? The downside of all of this is witness encryption is still not blazingly fast. I mean, it's still pretty expensive. Speaking of pretty expensive means, the currently published version is, the ciphertext for the Garuda verifier in there, which basically means, kind of the general purpose proof system verifier there takes about, 338 terabytes? Yeah, we have a number here, 338 terabytes, which is, that's the cost of having binary covenant on Bitcoin today, I would say. Is it possible to get it down? We think yes. Different techniques, we haven't proven out the security of them yet, so don't get hyped up too much. But in general, we think it might be possible to get the ciphertext size down to 50 to maybe 100 gigs, depending on the technique, depending on the approach. And we'll do a separate paper about that. We'll do separate open challenges about that. And by the way, whoever's coming to Rome for Eurocrypt or for ZK Summit or any of that stuff, come talk to us in there as well. We'll be talking about witness encryption in detail there, the witness encryption itself, because you got to talk about Bitcoin. You got to talk about Bitcoin stuff at a Bitcoin conference, but it's probably not that. It would not have been that funny if I decided to just go through the witness encryption in here right now. So come to Eurocrypt, come to ZK Summit, come to Crypto 2026. We're going to be there as well. It's probably going to be published there as well. I hope so. So we'll talk about witness encryption internals there as well. Just in case, since there is this point in the slide anyway, can we actually use this as a mechanism for covenants? Yes, it's kind of interesting because it's embarrassingly parallelizable, turned out to be. So with the current ciphertext size and the current well, state of published things, it would take you 48 to 50 AMD EPIC CPUs to decrypt a thing within 10 minutes. So it's, kind of Pinocchio of witness encryption. Pinocchio of witness encryption. Barely practical. Like, barely. But yeah, like, we'll, kind of we're working on making it better. Yeah, so the overall kind of workflow of all of these kind of, key management tricks, kind of off-chain key management tricks with conditional decryption methods. I mean, it's kind of similar to the BitVM stuff as well a little bit. It's similar to like the garbled circuit stuff as well a little bit. Is that, well, I mean, you put something into UTXO. I mean, you prove some off-chain compute there. You put this proof effectively into as a witness through the decryption procedure. You get the key, which kind of got leaked to you by the witness decryption procedure to sign a transaction. And well, that's basically what gets you the attestation of whatever you want there. Of course, we got to be a little bit okay. Well, we'll talk about that. What in particular we can do this way. Yeah. So this is just a little bit of more like detailed overview of what's like how the generic workflow for all of this would look like. And since some folks have asked already in terms of, if you need to have this kind of committee online, always producing new ciphertext to basically be able to attest new covenants each block. Well, I mean, you can just pre-generate them, like just pre-generate a bunch of covenants. Like if anybody runs a miner here, just, we'll talk in some time. We'll get you to generate all of that stuff. We'll get you to store all that stuff and then whatever. That's the thing. Yeah, so the workflow is pretty classic. So what can we do with this stuff? Like ideally speaking, again, the V1 was more like, hey, cool concept. We could probably do that. Interesting, right? How to do that in particular, that kind of was a good question, and maybe with FE is still a good question, honestly. But with encryption, it's not anymore. This, though, brings besides performance improvements, brings, I would say, some limitations. It brings some hackiness into the process. It makes it a little bit less elegant, but still, some of the opcodes you can still do pretty elegantly. Speaking precisely, which opcodes can you do pretty elegantly? Well, since this is like a villain's edition anyway, all right, let's talk about that. Binary predicates, hear me out. Various binary predicates. Anything what gives you 0 or 1 in the end. So, like, what are the trivial proposals which give you that? CSFS? Sure. Upvolt? I mean, I know it's deprecated, whatever, yeah, but we can't do CTV. Okay, we can, but let's hacky and like very, whatever. Upvolt, pretty straightforward. By the way, we're going to be publishing. I kind of annoyed some of you about this already as well. We're going to be publishing a little bit of pieces, like a bunch of pieces about how, in particular, can you do that with pipes in terms of, hey, this is the upvolt behavior, and this is how, in particular, it's being done. It can be done, or like this is CSFS behavior, and this is how, in particular, it can be done, or this is like whatever else non-consensus logic behavior, and this is how in particular it can be done. So yeah, whoever's interested, I mean, I'll send you the piece and like whatever, just to be on the safe side. I would say not to cause any shit show accidentally, which, well, yeah, that's the thing. Introspective opcodes, yeah, this not obviously kind of the witness encryption, as I said, introduces some limitations on that. So we cannot do introspective opcodes directly anymore, which is a little bit of a trouble. We could have theoretically done it with the V1 initially. Well, yeah, not anymore. But yeah, like something which doesn't output you 0 or 1. Well, again, as I said, this is a little bit of villain's edition, right? So it's just hear me out. Let's say you can pack a bunch of non-consensus logic into a binary predicate, into something which resolves into a binary predicate. And this binary predicate can consist of more than one opcode, 10, 20, 30, whatever. Sure, you would need to put the witness for all of that, into Bitcoin itself, but that's kind of very, very arguable thing to do. Kind of inscribing non-consensus logic byte blobs into Bitcoin. Maybe not the best thing to do, but this is how you can do it. Yeah, there is also a little bit of a what should we talk about? Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. A little bit of like side quest, which got accomplished accidentally. We were thinking about how to do covenants. It resulted with the method to do non-interactive ZKPs, non-interactive ZKPs verification. Sure, like let's adjust for all of these kind of nuances with non-deterministic finality, with private fork stuff, etc., etc. Yeah, like everybody has it. We got to think about that. But in general, kind of the thing is, well, single transaction verification is what you get, because if you don't have a key, means you have never done a compute, means you have never got a proof, means your proof was never valid. So having a key means you can just submit the verification as a single transaction one, and the whole footprint is going to be basically the same as the signature verification is. It's just object-sig. So that's pretty fun. Oh, okay, it's object-sig plus the witness of like the witness you used for decrypting the stuff if you want to attest that witness, if you want to publish that on Bitcoin. So that's kind of interesting. And since this is a little bit of a, yeah, we spoke about this already as well, meta protocols. Actually, it's kind of interesting. Let's say this way that, single transaction verification, again, adjusting for the private fork stuff, adjusting for the non-deterministic finality, of course. Single transaction verification gets you effectively, let's say, faster security, relatively faster security for meta protocols, or for something people do on top of it, like, I don't know, roll-ups, L2s, whatever you want to do there. But yeah, and kind of interesting that there is a little bit of concept we want to call it. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it's kind of an oxymoron. I know it's an oxymoron. Just by definition, it cannot happen this way. But come on, the signature verification happens by the consensus. So formally speaking, you can do that stuff. And kind of why this is interesting is because most of the meta protocols we've seen, they're kind of bullshit, most of them, because none of them actually use Bitcoin inside, and none of them actually use Bitcoin inside because, well, there is no bridging primitive. And the verification of all of that stuff is kind of slow. You gotta wait a lot. You can dispute a lot of stuff there. So again, most of the meta protocols we've seen, they failed exactly because there was no Bitcoin there. So like, what's the point of using them? It's just whatever. It's just a spam. So if you have Bitcoin there, well, and if you have this kind of a little bit faster, I would say, security, more rapidly achievable security for them, with a little bit of a bridging primitive, this is what this is what could effectively make those meta protocols a little bit more interesting once again. Yeah, welcome back to 2016, the meta protocol boom. So pipes themselves, actually, well, since this is like maybe less controversial thing, okay, maybe more controversial thing, whatever. Pipes themselves actually do introduce a lot of implications for Bitcoin L1 itself. Why? Because, well, certain BIPs can, in fact, now be deprecated harmlessly. Not like deprecated, but like no need to put them into consensus anymore. Again, the perfect example is CSFS. One more perfect example which got already deprecated is Upvolt. Maybe several more examples. Like, just tell me which ones, because we kind of picked just the most trivial things, the most trivial kind of binary predicate-based things. So this means the consensus itself, the protocol itself, can actually start being simplified. You can literally start throwing out opcodes. Maybe eventually you would be able to even throw out the script itself. At some point. Yeah, so, and just leave just the consensus in, leave just the payments in, and do everything off chain. Do not risk the protocol integrity, do not risk the protocol security for the sake of things nice to have and not must have. Focus on post quantum, for example, or focus on anything anything but adding new opcodes for the sake of, oh, it would be cool if you could have this. Who cares? This kind of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, okay, let's stop lightning up people's buttholes on fire a little bit, and let's just talk about what comes next, right? What comes next is, well, I mean, as already said, a lot of cryptanalysis is happening. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Dan invited us to Stanford to give him a seminar about what's going on. So that's kind of interesting as well. We are going to be publishing and announcing open challenges for the with inscription at Eurocrypt, which means if anybody wants to take a crack at trying to break witness encryption, please do it. If all of you fail, or like if everybody fails, I mean, we'll have non-consensus logic attested to Bitcoin itself. Like that's pretty cool. Another thing is obviously there is quite a lot of efficiency improvement stuff because kind of the ciphertext size reacts to the circuit size cubically, which means, well, the more you blow up the circuit, like in the cubic proportion, the ciphertext size grows. So like the optimization of a circuit, the kind of the techniques and how do you represent the circuit inside the AEDP itself, like some special type of matrices might be on the table, which is also kind of coming up. Yes, you might call us, idiots, but we're actually about to implement the AEDP thing, kind of the initial but currently published version, to work in practice. Like, yes, we'll do the 50 CPU decryption thing, all right? It's kind of stupid, but in fact, the cost of all of that, because the primary cost is basically kind of the storage and like the amount of RAM, it's not like the compute. So it's kind of, it's actually pretty cheap. Like right now it's like $100 or $200 per decryption. So it's quite expensive. Once optimization like this, once all of this kind of optimization is applied, like whatever the 50 or 100 gigs, might get down to like $10 or $20, which is kind of comparable to Bitcoin fees in general. So that will make it more interesting, much more interesting than this, cluster-based covenant decryption. Yes. And of course, we're going around and we're talking to people in terms of, how can this improve Lightning? I mean, of course, Upvolt can improve Lightning. Can this improve BitVM? I mean, there is a lot of conversation about that. Can this improve bridging in general? Can this improve, well, like last day and like last couple of weeks, I would say, can this give us, like via this kind of consensus verified meta protocol stuff, can it give us privacy? I mean, something more interesting than CSVs. I mean, CSVs are interesting, but something more fancy, something more, it can probably do that as well. Because now we can basically, if you do the Zcash style thing on Bitcoin, you can basically attest the validity of each encrypted note, like decryption and decryption proof of it, like the Zcash style stuff, to Bitcoin itself, which kind of makes it hard to spam. And if you, well, yeah, there is a lot of nuances there. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what's going on. And if you have any ideas on what to do with this, besides what I've just kind of mentioned, or which BIPs can you deprecate, which pieces of the roadmap can you just deprecate again, talk to me. Yeah, that's it. I mean. 5 minutes for questions if anybody wants that. Nobody wants that. Oh, somebody wants that. Okay, let's go for it.
I kind of have a two-parter question. First of all, like the basic functionality here is simply like you meet or provide the required input to the pipe and then just get the key and you can sign for anything.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see how this doesn't create a massive functionality shortfall when it comes to emulating lots of different opcodes. Like for instance, checksig from Stack to me, like the big use of that has always been side loading variables to an opcode after the fact. Like if you have a time lock check, you can add in that value afterwards. And I don't see how like a pipe-like system can get that kind of functionality at it. You're just gonna have a signature over data, and then that releases the key, so it's like completely spendable free of encumbrances. So like, what's your thinking? And kind of going through all of the individual opcodes like that, and kind of enumerating where that functionality like shortfall comes, like one by one.
That's basically okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's basically the process we have started some time ago. And again, that's kind of I want to welcome everybody to participate in that process as well. Just going through all of the kind of non-consensus opcodes or something we were not able to reach consensus about, and just go through what can be done, what cannot be done there. Because you're right, like the CSFS part, you cannot really guarantee, you cannot really enforce the like, you know, the fact that you force the publication of the signature. You can show that you verified it correctly. Yeah, I mean, maybe even several of them or whatever, you know. But the enforcement of the publication is kind of disincentivized, but it's not enforced. Like the publication is like the absence of publication of the whatever you verified is disincentivized, but it's not enforced. To enforce it, you gotta have a fee. The fee is a little bit further down the road. I'm not even sure, like, you know, kind of where it is down the road. So that's the thing. Yeah. So this is true. This is a little bit of a nuance. But again, it all depends on kind of the design of how do you use that inside the app, how do you use it inside the protocol. And again, kind of the idea is that, well, it's at best disincentivized. Like, you know, the wrong behavior is at best disincentivized. So let's say it this way. But yeah, in general, we want to do all of that process, like with going through all of the non-consensus opcodes and going through all of those BIPs we have, and to be like, okay, this can be replaced, this cannot be replaced, this can be implemented, this like has this caveats or like whatever, you know. Like opvault, for example, is almost exactly replaceable. Almost exactly. There are some caveats in there as well, but it's almost exactly replaceable. For example, you can still have like the revocability there. Like revocability is doable as well. The caveat in most of this stuff is, well, probabilistic finality. There is a little bit of nuances there, and you know, we're still thinking about that. But yeah, that's the process we got to go through. True.
Is there any hope or like direction you see to prove the security of the ADPs under some more familiar assumptions?
Okay, let's talk about that. Well, let's just start with the fact that none of the kind of IOFE/witness encryption family constructions have any reductions to any standard assumptions. All of them are kind of thing of their own. Those ones which have, they were broken. Like, you know, multilinear maps don't have the reduction to any standard assumptions, for example.
Are there not ones based on lattices that are currently unbroken?
I mean, evasive LWE stuff, still not standard ones.
Fair enough.
Still not standard ones. So none of them have any reductions to standard assumptions. Multilinear maps have no reductions at all. It's just a thing of their own, like in fact. And the thing is all about that, you know, people have just spent more time thinking about them. Like ADPs are effectively, what, 6 years old at this point, right? And this is just kind of the iteration on the kind of the ADP, kind of just optimization stuff. Like multilinear maps are what, 10 years, like 10, 11 years, right? So, I mean, as far as I remember, it's like what, CLT 13. Okay, 13 years, in fact. Okay, good, 13 years. I mean, okay, well, it's twice older, whatever, you know, and just people thought about it a little bit more. So yeah, is there any hope to get this reduced to any standard assumptions? I don't think so, but is there any hope to reduce this to some known assumptions? I mean, something min-rank related might be there. I mean, we just haven't finished that process yet as well. That's kind of like a part of the overall cryptanalysis and like security analysis part. There might be kind of, you know, kind of the, like some chance to reduce this to like the min-rank hardness stuff, maybe something else. Yeah, so there might be like, you know, there probably are some assumptions, known assumptions, which this can be reduced to, but none of them will be standard ones, of course. But just like with every IO, witness encryption, and FE stuff in general. It's just a test of time.